Welcome back to another episode of the Black Cinema Experience
Podcast.
I'm your girl, JB.
And I'm Cameron.
And this week we have a very exciting Sundance Award winning
Absolutely.
Blackity Black film to review this week. We watched 1001. 1001 is a film loosely based on gentrification, but mostly based on a relationship with a mother and her son as they fight through struggle. So
Loosely based on gentrification.
loosely based on gentrification, very loosely based. Like they might have mentioned it a time or two. The reason why I'm going hard, and let me just explain why. I did get the chance to see this movie at the Sundance Film Festival as it won the U.S. Grand Jury Prize for dramatic film, the most dramatic film. And would you say that it was dramatic?
There was drama.
Did you feel like, and this now honestly, if we're just talking about drama, if we're not talking about any other aspects, any other tie-ins, any other breakdowns, do you feel like this film was dramatic?
I do.
Yes.
I do feel like it was dramatic. I definitely don't see how there could have been any other.
There's no other category for it. Yeah. 100%.
So I feel like it fits. I just feel like it took a big swing.
Mm-hmm.
And it hit the ball. It just didn't knock it out the park.
It was in the park for sure. It was like, oh. So the reason why we have to talk about this winning an award first and foremost is because we don't want to talk about movies that are the stereotypical Black struggle. In this movie, it starts off with her having a conversation about how she was in Rutgers because she was boosting. Yeah. And I'm like, God, is this her story? And she went to jail behind her boyfriend, and like he's constantly cheating on her and disappearing for days at a time. And there's just all of these trifling tropes in this story. Not to mention that Teyona Taylor plays our Inez, and she is so fucking toxic. I can't even believe that, like, lady, you. I didn't even do the spoiler alert announcement.
It's okay.
Can you do it?
This is your spoiler alert. A spoiler alert.
A spoiler alert.
A spoiler alert.
This is a spoiler alert. Guys, she stole this child. Yeah. She kidnapped a child and pretended to be its mother and had the nerve to be toxic.
Well, in her defense, she kidnapped a child that was already in the system, like a sheltered child.
In her defense.
I'm not defending kidnapping any children. I'm not saying it's okay.
If they're in the system, they're already in the system. You're probably doing them a favor.
That's how she felt.
That's how a lot of kidnappers probably feel.
That's probably how they feel.
Yeah. Essentially, she kidnapped the child. Now, at the Sundance Film Festival, they gave us this About Me section of this film saying the movie was about gentrification. And every time I watch it, I'm like looking for little pieces of gentrification. And I mean, they're there, but they're so irrelevant to the storyline. Yes. How dare you call this a film about gentrification? How dare you even mention gentrification in the title? You literally touched on it. You never even elaborated further on what the landlord was doing to her.
Exactly. And I definitely agree with you because there are processes where we see gentrification, quote unquote, happen. Because for me, it could have been anything. It could have just been, how when it started in 1994 and then progressed through the 2000s, I guess until modern day. To me, that's just literally
what it looked like.
Exactly what I'm saying. Or like, people building businesses and like your city expanding.
Mm-hmm.
If you wouldn't have said anything about gentrification, I just would have thought that's what was happening.
Yeah. Like they were giving us all these B-rolls and the news articles. I mean, they were talking about stop and frisk laws and things like that. So the little radio chatter that we heard at different bits and pieces throughout the movie, first and foremost, they felt very out of place. Mm-hmm. It felt very much so like, why are we getting this? It wasn't like Inez said something that cute that like would have insinuated for the next article to have made sense. You know what I mean? Like if I just it was so disconnected. The two topics, they were in the same movie, but for them to even be categorized as anything alongside each other is crazy.
I will say that I feel like this movie could have done without the whole trying to make another political spectacle or like try to bring up something political, because I mean, just being black can be can be political. That's political enough, and her being incarcerated, that's the point right there already. That's already like a huge factor. But I feel like the story could have stood on its own with just Inez's story or Teyona Taylor's character, and like I would have preferred actually if the movie had actually deepened that story, because I really wanted to understand like more about where Inez is coming from. Because again, I understand what you mean by she was toxic, but like if they would have told us why she was toxic, you know, like I feel like they tried to bring it up, like she had been to jail and stuff like that. She wanted to be loved, but
she didn't have no family. Okay, but like, was she abused as a child? Because she said she was in the system. Is that why you went and stole a foster kid? Like, what was the process behind? Like, what was the reason?
I think we tried to tie it together in the movie at the end where Inez confesses to her son Terry, was his real name, that she said she won at the end of the day, because she knows the child that she, you know, essentially stolen and raised is gonna come out to be a good human being. So like, I beat the system, and I can, you know, I see it kind of.
If they would have used one line like her sister or her mother was a crackhead and had this baby and died or something, and Inez was like, I feel a responsibility to it.
That's what I thought was.
Or even if it was like a friend that, you know, was a crackhead and had the baby and she felt like, I have this bond. They could have given us more reason to understand why she cared so much about this particular kid, to steal him out of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like or had like a shot where she saw him when he was 2, like playing by himself, and then that could have been the attention grabber, like, oh, that, you know, I saw you, and it reminded me of, you know, me when I was a kid, so that's why I got it. Like, we would have had that, but like, and she did say it again, but there wasn't enough emotional pull for me to be on her side at the end.
No,
for you stealing somebody's child.
And I really wanted to be on her side, but she was such a toxic, violent mother who blamed everybody for her hardships that it was like, are you serious right now, lady? You're mad at everybody else, but you decided to steal a responsibility, bitch. Get your shit together. Get a house.
No, like, and I understand, because like I feel like, not to bring up my like friends' business, but like I have friends who said like their parents only had children because they feel like they had nobody else, you know? And it's like, so I understand like that sentiment, like, because that bond a mother has with their child, like I always have somebody, but it's also like, that's such a selfish reason to bring a child into, and that's such a heavy burden to put on a child. I was alone, so now you made me alone. Now you're gonna be my crutch, and it's kind of like what? That's a lot.
That's toxic as hell. And a lot of parents do that. I see it already, which is so sad. People in our generation having babies and like putting all the weight and responsibility, like my best baby, my best, you know, boy, my best girl, whatever. And it's just like, they're just a kid, and you're gonna put these expectations on them, and they're about to grow up, and you're gonna be the reason why they do it. They'll never be themselves. Like, you're stunting their growth as a parent and a person by putting that responsibility on them. So it was weird to see how she was working Terry so hard. Come on, Terry, go to this school. You're gonna go to that fucking school, and it's just like, lady, you're so.
But the reason why, and the reason why I feel like the story is important, is because I do like that aspect of that like the story does have to be told. Like, we know life isn't pretty, we know life isn't perfect, and we know a lot of people go through trauma in raising kids and, you know, being a sole provider, and then, you know, so I feel like that story is important to tell. Again, my problem was I felt like the story we didn't really get to dive too deep into any one story, so that I wasn't really emotionally attached.
Right. So like, it was a drama, but we all had a little snippet of something. We could have gotten a little bit more.
Because that's a powerful character to dissect. Like, they do it all the time when they, you know, they make films about, like, you know, serial killers or murderers, and you can get sympathy for them. I would personally love to have sympathy for any Black woman and show that, and like to show the understanding. And even like, even we know we have this toxic trope about, you know, a single Black mother who's, you know, feels the world's against her, because sometimes it is literally, but I feel like they didn't make it in a way to where we are supposed to have compassion on her, which I feel like we should. Again, I understand like the toxic aspect, but like if we had dove into that story, we would have gotten why this woman was so like this.
And you're absolutely right. That's exactly the element that was missing, compassion. Because we couldn't be compassionate towards this woman who stole this baby. We don't know why she did it. There had to be a reason, and they really missed the mark on giving us a little bit more backstory on that. But as far as the dramatic turns, I do think that it was a very dramatic story.
Yeah.
I think that they executed very well, that Inez was struggling with so many things. But she had toxicity in her relationship that she was putting up with. She had this relationship with her son that couldn't communicate with her properly, like just was a boy essentially. She's fighting with the landlord. She's not getting along with anybody really. It just seems like from start to finish in this movie, she's constantly fighting.
Yeah.
So it was really the drama was built up with those inner relationships, but also it was built up with the resistance that everybody had for something or another. Right? Terry had resistance about going to the school.
Yeah.
He's fighting. Now he's fighting his mother. There's drama. The stepfather, Lucky, had resistance about having this kid. Now
and really stepping into fatherhood and manhood.
Resistance first, though. He fought it. He was like, "That's not my kid. You know why? Why would I do this?" And then she pushed on him. So again, building more tension, building more drama. You're gonna go to the store with him. You're gonna spend time with him. And then he was like, "Hey, it's my wedding day in the hood, and I accept you as my son now." Like, okay, but the drama, though, you know, they just did a really good job with each individual relationship, giving each character some type of motivation to be angry.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I feel like, again, I'm not trying to isolate Teyona Taylor's character, but I do want to do a sidebar and say Teyona Taylor. I think she did really good with what she had.
I think she did
as far as acting.
I think she did too.
I did like to see some. I was glad to see some range in her and see her fulfill an older role, like watching her, from Google Me Baby to like now, and see her like become an adult and a mother to actually like be able to portray that. I really did enjoy that aspect. So kudos to Teyona Taylor. But I feel like I feel like the thing that I kind of got upset with this movie was because it isolated the black woman. And I feel like black women are isolated already enough. And again, I do feel like we have to show that, but then I feel like you have to really bring that in a way to where we're not just gonna be annoyed with you.
I think when you say that, it makes me think of something else. When you say that they isolated the black woman, it's like they isolated her character, but her getting iced out was so well deserved. And it's like, I want to see some more stories about how black women are getting iced out and it's not deserved, because that's kind of like but our reality is a lot of black women are walking around sweet, nice, and gracious, getting a lot of backfire from others.
But that's the thing too, because I feel like just because a person is toxic, especially a black woman, is that I feel like it's not fair. The thing is, yes, I do think there are way more black women who are really gracious and kind, or just like don't have that much of a dramatic background, and should also be highlighted. But I feel like in this instance, when they are trying to highlight the trauma of a black woman that has been through trauma, I feel like, again, I'm not saying that she deserves to have the world served on a platter to her, but I also feel like we really need to get down to the issues of why this is happening, and then to me, this movie didn't show in a good way why she's done like that. It just kind of made it seem like she was reacting to everything. Yeah. And again, no.
Instead of her seeing her man constantly cheating, and raise his family with somebody else. You know what I mean? She had understanding for
it's not the why. And I feel like they really, with stories like this, especially when there's already a trope about black women being angry and always fighting and always doing these things, you have to let people understand why. Because when white people watch this, or any other race, they don't think, oh yeah, she's just angry because so bad stuff happens to everybody, but you're not showing the systematic things. And again, they try to bring that in with gentrification, but gentrification wasn't her main issue. The correctional facility, what I'm saying, the prison industrial complex was the problem. Yeah, that should have been put into this complex, right. And why Terry felt abandoned, him not actually never knowing his real parents, but they just mentioned her being in jail once. They showed her in jail kind of, and it was kind of like, okay. Right. But then I feel like they could have showed her in jail, reading or missing, her son, not being able to see him, and just all these different things that go through a real mother's or anybody's
And like,
psyche when
mind
they're in
you,
prison.
she knew Terry before she went to prison.
Exactly.
So like, obviously that would have been more important for her to have some moments dwelling on him, thinking of, oh, my Terry.
Like scenes of him playing or something like that, like flashbacks.
Right. Like, but instead you just go and kidnap him and convince him that you're his mother. Interesting. Interesting, Teyona Taylor. Interesting.
But again, and I do believe that people have to have like you have to be responsible for your actions. You can't just go around fighting people. But you have to understand why black girls fight. Like, like what's going on.
Yeah. She was toxic as hell. I'm sorry. I'm like, if I ever encounter a person like that, they're gonna have, of course you're gonna have a rough life. Look at how you respond to shit. Like, literally, you put hands on your best friend mom after she letting you stay there. Yeah. She not saying nothing to you. She may not say nothing to you, but she not saying nothing to you. So, like, for you to get so crazy, so disrespectful with your best friend's mom, meanwhile, you go and you're trying to find an apartment and you're all sob story me to some other black lady. Well, why couldn't you use that same level of empathy to stay where you were, girl, to appreciate what you had? Like, why were you going crazy on your best friend? And then every time Teyona Taylor went crazy on her best friend, she'd always be like, I'm sad. Like, there'd always be this moment where it's like she went from being like awful and toxic to everyone being like, oh no, you're just sad. Like, and I thought that was strange. Are we normalizing this? What is this?
My thing is, again, and that's my problem with films, because I like films to be raw and real. And so as somebody who grew up in the 90s and who grew up like around hood people, I'm not saying that people aren't articulate, but they say things. It's like a certain je ne sais quoi. Like there's a rhythm to how black people talk, and I don't think it's ignorant because they don't articulate themselves like how they want white. I feel like just a more eclectic audience to view your literature. I feel like when a black girl cuts you out, especially from the Bronx, I think they're from Queens, New York, it's not gonna be like, oh, you need to see yourself, like like they didn't say like that. They're like, you need to know that you're better than all of this. No. Ain't not talking like that. I'm not trying to like say like every black person is supposed to talk a certain way, but I know a specific demographic. I want to feel like how they really express themselves. And I feel like Teyona Taylor could have done that because she is from New York. Like I just feel like I wasn't getting that sometimes throughout the story writing, and that just kind of bothered me.
Okay, so you don't feel like she was given a true, genuine New York experience? Yeah, because I mean, she had the Timbs on, but gold on, but it's like the ponytail, the side part, and the baby hair. So you would have imagined that she.
And I'm not trying to say be a stereotype, but I really want to be real. Like I want to come across like how
there are so many flaws in that. You're giving out flyers for your beauty shop with your abs out. What is going on? I'm like, how are we gonna keep over sexualizing Teyona Taylor? Can't she just be an actress? I wonder. I don't know. I liked her acting, but she is over sexualized in everything. And I'm like, do we like her acting or do we just like to look at her? What is going on?
Well, and I do want to comment because like that it was weird, like because Teyona Taylor has the body, like she has the body, no disrespect to anybody else, but like she has an amazing body, and we all know she's proud of it, as she should be. But it was like exactly, kind of felt like
because she did look like a streetwalker. Yeah. When her best mama said, "Oh, you got her looking like a streetwalker," she said what she said. Well,
and again, I don't know, like there were, because like when you go to like your regular family, there are like some people who have their parents, their moms are bad, like they look good. So I'm saying that could be a possibility, but it just seemed like it wasn't like you just got out of prison and your body's like banging like that. Like I don't know, it just seemed like
I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah. But either way, she was that girl. She did a great job acting in this movie. I appreciated that. One thing that I didn't care for though was the excess use of the Terrys. So,
that was weird.
There were 3 Terrys. We had one that was probably like 7 or 8. Then we had the one that was about like maybe 14, 15. And then one that was like 17. So the middle Terry or the latter Terry, I personally love the oldest Terry. He was so talented. He knew how to cascade his voice. He knew how to just sell that shy, soft-spoken character so well, but then even his anger, in his anger, he was still soft spoken.
Mm-hmm.
He was still like that person who, you know, he doesn't want to yell. This character, he did such a good job.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Terry, the oldest Terry is my favorite Terry. But middle Terry, I was confused by. I felt like maybe they got a little carried away with that. I mean, we were doing such a short age range that maybe we could have went from the 8-year-old to the oldest Terry and could have just made him look a little younger until he got cooler and became the older Terry. But I feel like they really like messed up by giving us that 15-year-old one because I just got nothing from him.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because I actually, well, I agree with you. Like the last time we got like a three era of a character was like Chiron and Moonlight, which I thought was done well. So like seeing, and after you see it done so well, we see it like in this like content, you're kind of like, ooh, I
Moonlight
don't
is
know.
so different though because I mean really we're dealing with a little boy,
A
then we
teenager,
have a
a
teenager,
young adult.
and then the full blown adult. Like this adult, Toronto Rose, he was probably like, you know, late 20s, early 30s, you know, like he's an adult. But we're talking about a 6-year-old or 8-year-old, we don't know.
Yeah, he's that weird
age range to maybe a 14-year-old to a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
Those are really small jumps. You know what I mean? Like, because even in Moonlight, Chiron started off as a little boy, like 4 or 5. They're out there kicking each other in the nuts. So like, yeah, I'm just saying, I wasn't happy with the age progression. I feel like they just did one step too many, and maybe they could have simplified that down.
I agree. I definitely agree.
And besides that, like, and all the time, all of them were all the Terrys. They were all talented, but my absolute favorite is the oldest Terry. He just was so good at that soft spoken shit.
Well, the thing I was really happy to see was seeing a shy black boy, because you don't really get to see those too much, you know, and him trying to come to terms with like, you know, obviously trying to be a black boy becoming at the crest of becoming a black man,
right?
And them showing, you know, like him being police with stop and frisk, which I wish you could have went into that more than
because it's honestly like it could have went either way with the gentrification or the police stuff going on. Because if they would have took out maybe one more B-roll of an apartment building and put in one more voiceover of a illegal thing, it could have really went to the other side. So instead of being about gentrification, it then would have been about, you know, police injustice. They didn't talk about that at all in their little about section. Just gentrification and the mother and son. I mean, this film was not about gentrification.
There's no way. I mean, again, and gentrification happens, but it's so, to me, in the background. It could just been another Tuesday. Like it's like not part of the main story. But again, whatever gets them that award, because I want to see black people winning. So if they win awards, okay.
I do, and it was written by a black person, right?
Yeah, A.B. Rockwell, a black woman.
Okay,
so
a black lady. You know, a black lady. Why do you want to embellish these stories of our dysfunction and trauma? Even, is this a story that you know? And it said it wasn't based on a true story, but kind of, sort of, like loosely depicted type thing. And I'm just like, okay, I understand. We have trauma. We have bad stuff going on, but
see, my thing is, I think these stories are important, but my thing is, as far as because, okay, because again, we try to look at things like, okay, what can anybody put in this role? Kind of. So like that's what I'm saying. So if it had just strictly been the story of Inez, you could really see just about anybody in that role. Obviously, there'll be some tweaks and there'll be some differences as far as like, you know, a woman stealing a child to be making her own. I feel like that could be a story about anything. We've seen crazy stories about white women stealing kids, Latin women. So I think it's a possibility. But for this story specifically, if they had just focused on Inez's story, I feel like that is an important story. If they had taken it, like, again, another direction, like, is it about her overcoming this struggle and then her actually winning?
Yeah.
I would like, okay, you know, it's a different.
Because at the end, it just seemed like crazy got to be crazy the other day. she was free to go do more crazy things. Yeah. She was like, yeah, I'm out of here. Like, everybody knows now. I'm good. That was crazy.
Mm-hmm. But my thing is, again, and then that's it kind of at the end, like, it's okay with abandoning this black boy. You abandoned him multiple times when you got when you got arrested, you finally came. Kind of makes some stability. Stepfather dies to cancer. So sad. And then
at least it wasn't gang or drug violence.
Yes, I'm happy because
I was happy about
there
that.
There are a lot of black fathers and a lot of black stepfathers that do take care of kids that are not their own, and then they, happen or
And now in that regard, they could have. So yeah, like you said, one thing I like to do is I like to take the movie, the story, and see if I switch it out for people of other colors, and if I would still feel the same way about it. Is the story like strong, no matter like who the person is? And I'm like, if you're a person of color, like a Latino person or immigrant or whatever, yes, this story is interchangeable because think about all the aspects, right? Them getting kicked out of their house essentially. The stepfather getting cancer or accepting a child that wasn't his, them both having criminal records, the mama being crazy. I mean, these things could go to any color. So I do like that it wasn't specific to black people's struggle, but it was the stereotypical struggle that you see when you see people who are poor and people with records. And it's just like, oh my God, do we really have to do this? That's how I feel. But I'm like, okay, I guess the story had to be made, but like, again, if we're going to talk about gentrification, let's really talk about it. But as you said, there should have been more backstory into Inez. We should have had a glimpse into her childhood at some point where we could have seen her as a kid, then flash forward to current day with the Terrys. We should have saw more about what was actually made.
Or have her tell us, you know what I'm saying? Like,
like she never had to see that moment with Terry where she would have told him like, hey, this is what I went through. So I'm making sure that you don't go through that.
She just told him, like, she did sit down and explain at the end why she took him.
Still missed the center too, though.
Exactly, but didn't explain why she took him. She just said, like, oh, I saw you and I saw me. So, I felt like I had to take care of you. And I was like, okay, that's a start.
Okay.
But because, I can feel like I could want to take care of somebody. But what possesses me to finally go through the motions of taking the kid? They should have showed us taking the kid. At least, like, something
her
like
in the hospital and she was all on the wall and she was like, "What am I gonna do? I'm so mad. I gotta get this kid out of here." That moment was her seeing her do this whole thing where she's deciding. But I'm like, how did you know Terry before? Did you already have kidnapped him and then the system took him when you got arrested and then you had to kidnap him again? Wait, like, how did you know this little boy? Like, again, I'm not a fan of this movie. So I don't know if I said that or not. I don't think I did say that. I'm not a fan of this movie. I'm not sure exactly what they were trying to sell. What did you want us to believe? That this awful person who stole a kid from the system and then verbally abused him and exploded all over the place all the time. And I know what you said about them isolating black women, but this is just my perception of the movie.
I mean, you have the right. You're a black woman. You can speak on it.
If I ever got a card, I'd swipe it.
You better. This is be the topic.
Okay.
Nah.
I'm just saying. I just don't understand. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the story. And then she was dealing with Lucky. She had went to jail behind him, so we already know she's got abandonment
that always
issues.
Gets me though. They're like when somebody be trifling towards you, and she's like, "I went to jail for you."
No, girl.
No. and he still cheated, and you think that?
No, girl. No. But you're so compassionate that you invite the baby mama and the other daughter over. Oh, so you knew about so that's crazy. They didn't talk about it. They did a bad job making us care for her. They actually I think I just got to the root of why I don't like this movie. They literally just villainized her the entire time. Yeah. And I get it. She is the villain.
Well, but that's what I was trying to get at. I agree. They villainized her, but you have to have a reason to villainize somebody. Or if you're not trying to villainize them, you have to have a reason for us to have compassion on them. And we didn't get the compassion.
Yeah, we didn't.
So you just end up not really liking her. When I feel like, again, it's her fault, but it's really not her fault. But it is her fault.
But it's like, is that what you guys wanted? I think that when they made this movie, and now I'm sounding like an asshole. I think when they made this movie that they couldn't decide if they wanted her to be a villain or not. I think that they were like, okay, let's leave it a little vague so the audience can decide. But they purposely left it so vague that I can't tell you if she was the good guy or a bad guy.
Do you think it's okay to make a black woman a villain in this time, in this space?
I'm not that political.
No, I'm not trying to make it.
I'm not that political because we're good villains. Like in Queen Sugar, one of the black women is a villain. You know, the one that comes in. I'm like, Wait, do you watch Queen Sugar?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying.
You know the one that's the white man's
yes.
Yeah, she comes in there and she villainized that thing. I said, "Ooh, get it, girl! She's a real villain." It's okay for us to be villains in stories. Yes, yes, we can be written as villains too. We're villains too. But like for her to be a villain again, they didn't give us enough motivation. They should have showed us her drowning her baby when she was 16. Yeah. So she felt the need to redeem herself by this stealing this child. If you're gonna make her bad, make her all the way. And if you're gonna make her good, make her great. You know, show us more redeeming moments in her telling him, "You're gonna go to that fucking school, Terry."
Well, again, and then I don't mean to keep bringing up this movie, but like Moonlight with Chiron's mom, it made you hate her. You was like, "Oh, she ruthless." I
know exactly how to feel about it. Like, no doubt in my mind.
She's ruthless. Like,
I don't like it when movies make you confused about the relationships. And I think that was the ongoing theme. And if that's what they want to call drama, they can call it drama. Because it does make you feel like, man, this is crazy. What's going on? I don't like this. And you feel that way. And when you feel confused about how you feel, it makes you think more. You put more energy into it. So maybe watching this movie confusing everybody made them win that best
not for
dramatic.
Film. Not for film. For film, that the point is to tell a story.
I think so.
And again,
too.
and I can definitely say like there could be times where you have an ending, you're like, wait, what happened? Like, you know, like the cliffhanger stuff. But for film, it has to have a clear direction because then I have no connection to this movie now. Right. Like, there's nothing to keep me a fan. There's nothing for me to talk about this in the future. You know, I have to have a story to tell, and I feel like there was an incomplete story.
There's no one that I loved. I never even got a character that I could root for. It just felt like everybody was losing, and you just had to be a loser. Because Lucky, you know, you kind of like Lucky because he doesn't hit her when he should have. So you kind of like Lucky because he walks away, and you're like, okay, he cool, but you know he is cheating on her constantly, so you can't like him. And then you want to like Teyona Taylor, but she's constantly verbally abusive and she's pushing her limits with everybody. You want to like Terry, but Terry's a punk. And we're all watching him just be a punk all the time. Being bossed around, being scared to speak up for himself, no confidence, just a little loser.
But I feel like that is a result, and now we'll say that that's the direct correlation between a type of mother like that and a child. Literally, because you are the speakerphone, you shout at your kid that much, they're literally gonna go inside themselves, so they can't communicate, they can't pop out. So yeah, and I know I did like that because that was a really accurate relationship parallel. I do feel like that was pretty spot on, but I can't root for it though. I can't root for it, and I still couldn't even root for Terry because but you ratted your whole mama out, so you didn't know about the papers and your name being changed. You never asked a question, you never had that explained, and now you go apply for a job and you're like telling your mom, "Oh, I need the real papers, not the one in your drawer." So you knew about the papers, but you didn't know that you weren't you. What? You basically got your mama to give up her entire life because you wanted a part-time job at the school and didn't want to ask for papers. When he came home, you saw how he kind of creeped in the house. But he was trying to make extra money to help with the gentrification. Obviously, Cameron, because that was the whole entire point of the movie. Gentrification. He obviously was going to get a part-time job working under his teacher, even though he was trying to get into college. Somehow she offers him a part-time job, and that seems like a good fit. And he says, "Fuck college. I will work under you. Let me get my birth certificate from my mother." Sneaks into the house that he lives in. Mama goes into her room and knows exactly where the papers are. Gets the wrong papers. Takes him to school. So papers existed even though they were illegal. Gets the wrong papers. So where were the right papers? Well, you didn't have them. She didn't have them. She was lying she had a fake. Yeah, she had fake everything. I don't know. It just everything about that whole little scene was annoying to me. That whole little situation where he had to steal his stuff back, and it was like, "Oh, well, she said this, and she said you were in my room, you were in my papers." I'm like, why would he have felt comfortable doing that? Why would he have known where it was? Y'all had to have some type of conversation about something. How could he have known that that's where you kept his stuff? Yeah, it was a little convoluted. I agree. It was like that was kind of like a little rabbit hole, like a limbo area with the plot. So I was like,
it needed more writing, and you could have added a couple more sentences to give your fans exactly what we needed to have a full story. It just was missing some pieces.
It was, but I do want to talk about some of the shots in the movie because I think there were some really good.
Go off.
I do think like it was shot very well. Like I love the scenes where we saw when she had to leave her son Terry at home by himself. Because obviously she didn't have the fake paperwork to get him to school yet, so he had to watch himself and like showing him like being bored, just showing how like little kids. It was so nostalgic for me because I remember I used to have to stay home and stuff like that. Like, and your mom saying, "Don't open the door. Don't you open the door for nobody." Not saying it wasn't like this situation.
Yeah,
by any means.
Like correct that.
But so don't come for my mother. But but it was just so crazy to see like that. Like those shots were really good of little Terry.
I didn't like how the film was shot.
What? I want to hear.
Okay.
You one got the eyes. I want to know.
No, you got eyes too. But one thing I didn't like about it is just how inconsistent a lot of the scenes were. They were doing this thing where they were giving us different angles of the character, but they were misusing their levels. Really? We saw Teyona Taylor down here from this angle a lot. Why are we making her so big? Because in the interim, you have this angle of her where she's essentially this low angle is used for villains. So I mean, I guess maybe they weren't misusing it. Maybe they were really trying to tell us she's the villain because they were making her big. I don't like that. There's a lot of different angles with the camera too, where we were just underneath our stars, and it felt a little reminiscent of like Belly, like shot in a different type of way. But there was I don't know, it could have been more creative. There was some really great set design in this film, and they did a really they didn't give us enough of it. Yeah. We could have saw more of that little wicker cabinet and the leather couches in the living room. We could have saw some wider shots, but they were just right up on the face, right down here. I didn't care for that for a lot of the talking scenes.
Well, I did like how, because they were trying to tie in gentrification, how they would show you the different ways that New York was progressing throughout the little interludes, kind of when it would change into the life. I thought those were shot very well.
The B-roll,
but I don't. But I don't think obviously it didn't make me think about gentrification. I got that it was obviously time had passed because it looks more advanced.
Exactly.
But I didn't know it was about gentrification.
Exactly. It's like when you look at that, when you're looking at the B-roll and you're hearing the news articles, all I really was listening for the first time and almost the second time was the police articles, and this was happening at this time, and they were kind of telling us what year it was. That's what it felt like. But they were showing us B-roll of the gentrification happening, of the towns are getting nicer, there's more stores, all of that. But again, it still didn't go into the deep effects of what was happening. I mean, we touched the surface with his little girlfriend, with Terry's little girlfriend, and she said, "Oh, I'm moving in a few weeks to Florida because something happened with the deed." So it's unfortunate for me that if they wanted to call this movie about gentrification, why didn't they actually add more aspects of it? Why didn't they actually use someone's true story and gotten into the nitty gritty of could you have given us a relationship for Terry where instead of visiting the girl at work and her playing hard to get, he was going to her house and then helping them move because they were getting pushed out, and there was a clear, very visible, direct connection to the landlord pushing people out illegally. Maybe a disclaimer at the end referencing all the people who were affected by this illegal act of discrimination and being pushed out due to gentrification. Maybe we could have talked more about that. I don't know. Maybe we could have changed the entire story if we were talking about gentrification. Maybe we could have made Teyona Taylor's character come out of jail, have this horrible gentrification thing happen, and then her fight alongside a lawyer to get whatever house back. And in the interim, she steals her son. I don't know. So
what we're going to do is we're going to have you write the story about gentrification, and then you're going to make the movie, and then we're going to get this.
I mean, did you call that drama? So many holes.
I mean, yeah. But again, I would encourage everybody to still see the movie, to give it some play. I feel like, and I want to hear your opinion to see what you all would say about it.
I do want to hear people's opinion on this because I feel like it was a really bad movie, but as a Black person, I'm still gonna like it on all platforms, and I'm still gonna tell my friends to watch it for themselves. I try not to spoil it too much, but at the end of the day, like, there's no way to discuss this movie without getting to the nitty gritty. She stole somebody's kid,
which is, I mean,
and then they never even gave us the satisfaction at the end of seeing him reunite with his actual birth parents. Like, couldn't they have gotten cleaned up off the crack and like reunited with him? Couldn't we have gotten a happy ending somewhere?
My thing is, because throughout the movie, well, at the end, like, he still considered her his mother, which is fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, Stockholm syndrome.
But I just felt like if I could just saw like him at least like graduating college, and then her being like the audience, like, you know what I'm saying, like, I did win, you know. It just ended with him hugging her like, "You're my mom," and her driving away again, abandoning him before he turned 18. And I'm just like,
just imagine if, or even if she did abandon him, but they still gave us a graduation scene, and she was there. Mm-hmm. Yes, 100%. That would have been amazing.
Yeah,
because we would have felt like, we would have felt something. But where they left us off with him is that he was trying to go to college, but instead settled for a part-time job and couldn't get that. That is where we left off with Terry.
And then he has to go live with her best friend now because he was in a group home he didn't like him, and his mother, that is not really his mother, but is his mother, abandons him again.
One thing I did like about that whole situation, though, with him moving in with the best friend, is that that moment when he calls her, he's so vulnerable. Mm-hmm. He's on the phone. And I do really appreciate movies having patience and grace for Black men, giving Black boys the ability to be boys, because we've seen them so long be kind of criminalized.
Yes.
Like, even when you look at movies like Belly, since I talked about it earlier, on the little boy that comes up to Nas and got the chains on, and he's like a dope boy. And it's like, you see these little Black boys, being like criminalized and made to look like really awful figures. So to see him be as sweet as he was, as kind as he was, even the moment that he had with his stepfather where they hug and they both kind of cry, it's like, it was really great to see this affectionate Black kid relationship thing. I thought that they did a good job with that.
Well, exactly, especially with, because Teyona Taylor in the movie, Inez would say like, "Oh, you know, he's soft," or everybody kept saying he was soft. And I was like, that's the problem, because why does a Black boy always have to feel like he has to be so tough and ready to fight and do all this other stuff? And I get like everybody's perspective, because the world you're going into isn't necessarily the nicest place.
Right.
But I feel like your home should always be the softest place to land. And if you're a person that's not very confrontational, that doesn't mean you're soft. It just means you're just not like a very, you know, outgoing person. And
right.
Like, it just makes you so sad to see like how Black boys that aren't as, you know, extroverted or traditionally masculine are really criticized and like really pushed aside. So it was good to see like they put this character in there, you know, that he's not the player, he's not like the jokester, he's just like a really
he's just a good boy.
Yeah,
he is a good boy. I won, Terry. Okay, Teyona Taylor, I guess you won. But I did like that. And I think it's really important that we start seeing Black men on TV operating in those spaces. Like, when they're boys, let them be boys on TV. Don't make them be drug dealers. Don't make them be the niggas from it's not Boys in the Hood. The other one I really, really, really like, where the boy smacks the girl's butt.
On The Wood.
The Wood. That's my movie.
But even I feel like that was a good job, because he wasn't like a hard character.
They sexualized the fuck. They were at the table like, what girl we gonna get? And then we saw scenes back to back of them in bed with girls.
I'm not saying they weren't sexualized, because that's another thing. A lot of kids do get Black sexualized very early.
A lot of Black kids
because we've been sexualized Black people throughout this country's history. So
and we can't
always
help
happens.
That we so damn sexy.
but kids are not. So like, let's leave them alone and let them be kids, you know. And that's the thing. Like, I like that it wasn't super sexualized with this particular character.
Yeah, I like the fact that he just liked a girl, and he was just so
giddy,
infatuated by everything she did. I mean, did you see her
pour
the sauce? Like,
she was so mean to him.
She was mean to him, and there it was right there, the systems of abuse and how it continues.
Yeah,
we be seeking our parents and our partners. She was mean to him from the moment. I couldn't even believe when he said, "Why don't you call me later?" And she said, "All right." I said, "What?"
Exactly. She's like, "Don't call us my phone." I was like, "Ooh," but she explained why, because his best friends were making fun of her, and she said, "I don't got time for
For nobody who wants me to hate myself. Yeah, she did say that. That was interesting.
Yeah, but I feel like that wouldn't have been. Anyway.
Go off. What was
with
it?
the writing, like I feel like again, a 16, 17-year-old girl wouldn't.
Yeah,
she would have said it a different way. But I'm saying, like, you know what I'm saying? I've said like stuff like that.
Yeah, that was a 30-year-old woman saying that's someone who knows herself and she comes to terms. A 16-year-old girl gonna say something like, "Your friends is stupid. They be making fun of me."
Exactly.
Type shit.
And I know I'm the business, and so not this,
right.
But they would say like, I know I'm fine, and your friend ugly anyway, blah blah blah. Like,
No, I don't want to be with nobody who gonna make me hate myself. No,
that make me feel like I'm not in love with the one that I am truly come to terms with. You be like, this is not no.
You're a child, girl. You're a child.
Absolutely not. I'm not from Queens in the Bronx.
No, but I am glad that we didn't sexualize her. I'm glad that we didn't have to see another teenage sex scene, because for some reason we love teenage sex scenes in America.
The media, does.
That's real creepy, isn't it? Ugh.
It is. It's crazy. But I'm glad not in this movie.
Not in this movie. But I do be watching those shows though.
Yeah. we're not gonna say the names. But
no,
Euphoria.
we won't. But, never have I ever too. Yeah, just teenage sex shows.
Elite, Euphoria.
Yeah. What's the little gay boy? Love Victor.
Love Victor. I didn't watch that one.
I be like, y'all be. This is a lot.
That's crazy.
Whose kids gonna watch this?
Not my kids.
No, because like
even though I was in high school,
I was watching Degrassi. Okay. I was like, Manny had a thong. I'm gonna go to the mall with my friends and my $3.
Ashley with Manny and Manny pregnant.
Okay.
Okay. That's a whole nother
podcast. Degrassi. Whatever it takes. We'll have to do that one another time. But no, honestly, I think that this film was worth the watch, because what I will say is that it gives us some twists and turns that we did not expect. And even with all the information that we shared on the film today, there will still be something in there that surprises you. Exactly. And it's totally worth the watch. Teyona Taylor's acting in this is worth the watch. Oh, the actor. Oh my God. William Cartlet. Fine. He plays in Black Lightning as like this Lazarus type character that keeps coming back to life. It is crazy. He is such a talented actor. Yes. He's a beautiful black man. He looks like how black men look. I love the way he looks. But yeah, he's so awesome in this film as Lucky. And he's a dog, but he loves his show. You know, can I walk my lady to work?
After you've been gone for weeks, but that's all.
You've been gone for weeks with your other family. Well, my man came to walk me to work. Let's go, Lucky. That's what she said. I don't know. You see that?
I do see it.
That's what I saw.
And yeah.
That's what I saw.
Couldn't be me.
And of course, Lucky gonna be with his other family. That's really his daughter, ma'am. Who is this child? Anyways, all of that was good. But the way that it was shot, though, they did have some beautiful lighting as far as our skin and the light. Like, I thought that they were interesting shots. A lot of up close moments with black people. I thought that was cool. And they didn't get nitty gritty with, showing her pushing the mom. You know, they just show her doing the action, but you don't see it happening. I love that. I love when things are discreet. I love that we didn't have to see Lucky die. I love that.
But I also love that. I feel like they aged Teyona Taylor pretty well throughout her transition. I feel like I feel like she finally got it when she had that last haircut. I said, yeah, that's older, like woman Teyona Taylor.
Yeah, because her hair was a mess. That wig was a mess. I hated that first wig. It got better at the end, though.
But I feel like most wigs in the '90s were bad, so we're not gonna. That's the territory. That's what the territory.
I guess. I guess.
Well, is there anything else you wanted to bring up?
Let me take a second.
Look at them notes.
Yeah, because I took notes and they was thick. She had a bad wig. That was number one. Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Okay.
I can't read anything on this.
Oh, my body was a playground for 1,000 niggas growing up.
And I couldn't believe that's where the title of the movie came from.
1,001.
So I guess Terry was the one that changed her. So it was worth it. I don't know.
Is Lucky the one?
Couldn't be.
If 1,000 niggas had used her body as a playground, then Is Terry a nigga in this reference? I hated that line. Who would say that to a child? First off, who would say it to their child? Ugh, that's disgusting. He said that's nasty. And he's a little boy who understood that that was nasty. And I thought that that was just completely crazy. Uh-huh.
She had 2 pages.
I did have 2 pages. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, we talked about everything.
Good. We got it out. That's good.
We talked about everything. No, that was great. Oh yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. Everything.
Perfect. I'm glad we got it all out.
Overall scale of 1 to 10, what would you give this movie?
I'm gonna give it a 6.
That does feel fair. I think I'll give it a 6.5 just because Teyona.
I was going to say 6.5 at first, but I said Jordan gonna think I'm being too nice.
If I could give her body a 10,
that if it was based on her body, the movie would definitely be a 10.
A 10, 10
11.
all around. But story wise, yeah, I would say 6.5 is the strongest number that it can get for me.
But I am glad to see a Black female director writing and directing a movie and winning awards. I am excited to see what A.V. Rockwell does in the future because again, a very good concept, and for her to come up with that, I feel like it's really reminiscent. It's very indicative of something.
I would like to see less trauma porn, but I am excited to see what she makes in the future. Yes, I am, because there was a lot that I did like about it.
There's a lot of potential, definitely.
So yeah, check it out. Get in the comments. Let us know what you think. If you've already seen it, let us know what you think. Scale of 1 to 10. Like, tell us. Is Teyona Taylor like doing too much? Yes, right?
Is the story giving like it's supposed to give?
Is it giving enough? Right? Did you love this and we're crazy?
Because I mean, I don't think so, but you know, you have your opinion, and we want to hear.
We do. So thanks again for watching another episode of the Black Cinema Experience podcast.
I don't want her to forget.
I'm your girl JB.
I'm Cameron,
and we'll see you next week.